Hello, I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim. Today's topic is going to be survivor of being punished for the abuse that happened to me. I call it survivor now because most people don't like the word victim. Today's topic is going to be that, and I will be going into more detail based upon what I was, that's right, silenced from coming out and saying what happened to me. Most people know that or hear about is being silenced. That's where my topic really stands true. Survivor that was punished for the abuse that happened to me. That will also go along with one of the videos where I came out a little bit, not in total detail, which was, why didn't you report it? Wow. Also, this is going to be two parts. It's also going to go into what I now call as domestic violence culture. So true. And I'll be pointing that out too. So, taking that zipper off, I am going to take that zipper off and speak out what happened to me. I will start from the beginning of when I first moved in here, which was December 16th, 2022. It was a miracle. My first miracle was having my own place, being free from what was a miserable life before that. For the first time, it meant so much to me. Having this home is extremely hard to speak about because that is the most traumatic experience that happened to me while being here. There's more that happened, and I'll be going into detail as to what happened to me here that I've been holding back because I was silenced, being punished for the abuse that happened to me. Okay, when I first moved here, shortly after, I was being bullied online by people I knew for years that I thought were my friends. Wow. It did traumatize me to the point I had social anxiety, fear of people. That actually changed now after all these traumatic experiences that happened afterwards. I honestly have so much anger and hate towards people. I love her. That's all I could say. I actually had recently told my mom that I don't care about anybody else except for August and me and my dream, which is my career, which is actually going very well, by the way. So, coming out, what am I going to say that I was silenced for? In detail, after the other traumatic experience that happened first when I moved in here, I had met Mickey, and that was during the time of my social anxiety, of fear of people in relationships. He was the first person that I felt love with, that I had discussed in other videos and topics. Well, unfortunately, I have to admit, is that the traumatic experiences that harmed my life was, in fact, his fault, mainly. So, what happened there? I had met Mickey, and he had told me that he no longer surrounds himself with certain people due to them harming others purposely, intentionally. I honestly felt we had a connection because we both had the same values. At least I thought he did. One of those people happens to be, at the time, his ex-girlfriend, who is a part of that gang. And that is the hardest thing to admit is that he enabled the abuse that happened to me that actually traumatized me the most. So, the first trauma, which most people would see as the worst, was when I was sexually assaulted by this person that I first felt the feeling of love with. When I first met him, Mickey, it was very hard for me to be intimate. So we weren't intimate for a long time. When I became a little bit more intimate, he ended up sexually assaulting me, knowing that I was not ready for that. Even though I say it's not the worst, it's pretty bad, and I admit that. But that will go along with my topic. Everybody's different as to what they feel is worse and how it affected them. And many victims do get judged based upon how it affected them. Very true. Most people would say, why didn't you report it? Why did you give that person another chance? That'll be a part 2. So let's go on with what happened. After that, the gang members used that traumatic experience as a tool to continue their abuse and step it up more. It's very obvious that this was most likely planned by the gangs, which I sadly have to admit is that it's very hard. This is the hardest part, is that even the person that I thought loved me, and that was the first person I loved, was actually part of the gang's plan to destroy me. So how is that obvious? Less than a week after I was sexually assaulted, I was physically assaulted by another gang member that lives in this apartment complex. That's right. Let's put that out now. All these people involved live in the same apartment complex as I do. And that's part of how I am being punished. Let's go on. I was physically assaulted. This person had seen me from afar and walked over to me. Everybody knows me as going out for walks outside, and this person, of course, knows that too. Well, they came up to me. I was standing by the bench taking a break, and they walked up to me. Then they went out of their way to go in front of me and gathered their spit, and then spit on me, and the spit went all the way down to my bare legs. So, I've always heard as physical assault is people punching you, smacking you. I never expected somebody to spit on me. I was in total shock, and the cop that came didn't handle it well because the evidence was still on me. They didn't take that evidence. Ignorance right there, because I even asked them to take the evidence, and they said, well, we wouldn't be able to know. Well, he said, I wouldn't be able to know whose it is. Wow, that's right. So, I was in the state of what most people in the traumatic experience would be, which was confusion and being traumatized. I honestly wish I wasn't in that state where I would have went to the hospital and they would have gathered the evidence. Hopefully, if they weren't imbeciles like the cop and gathered the evidence, this person would have been in jail. Of course, that wasn't believed by most people that happened to me, and it was used against me as well by the gang members. What happened after? The next thing that happened was the gang members, certain ones, which includes Mickey's girlfriend, ended up going to the management of this apartment complex and feeding them lies about me, which included the physical assault, stating that I lied about that and putting me down and trying to use that against me as to calling the cops to report it. And management used that against me too. That's where my life was being threatened, and that's why I was being silenced. because my life was in danger of me losing my home due to people enabling the gang members' abuse on me and their goal to achieve, which was trying to destroy me. Didn't work because I'm still here. Let's go on. What happened after that? Well, I was already being stalked and harassed by one person, which happens to be a female that had abused me during the time I was with Mickey and had done things that also are criminal, but that's light to me. That's something I see as forgivable. We'll be talking about that in domestic violence culture, which I plan in going along with this topic. So, anyways, I was stalked and harassed by more than 3 people, which includes that one person, his female friend, that was spying on me and had done abusive things to me and criminal things. His ex-girlfriend, now girlfriend, that ex-girlfriend, now girlfriend's sister and their friend were the main ones that actually were going to management feeding them lies about me, including the abuse that happened to me as part of that lie. Ooh, this goes to my chapter that I'm writing about, that I've written so far based upon my personal experiences with abuse and domestic violence. Well, truth versus lies. Most people believe lies over the truth. Boy, that is still factual, even with this incident. And I was writing about the online bullying, but it's very factual, even in real life, not just online. Most people do believe lies. And that goes along with my previous abuse before I even moved here. Most people do believe lies, sadly. So, I was being stalked and harassed by those people, and most people don't think, wow, stalking and harassing, I take it lightly. I can't say most people. I myself did, until it actually happened to me. I didn't think so that it was such a big deal. Just like most people are probably still stuck on the fact I was sexually assaulted, but believe it or not, that was the lightest thing of the traumatic experiences that happened to me. The things that damaged me the most is what I'll be discussing in part 2. I'm just now trying to go over all the experiences, traumatic experiences that happened to me while living here, and how I was silenced and punished for the abuse that happened to me. So, I was given an eviction warning, and that was the most traumatic part of all of this that harmed me the most. Not any different than my past abuse, because it was bringing me back to that, and that's why I now have complex PTSD. My anxiety did get worse, and that affected my dream, which was my job that I had gotten shortly after those events happened, which was in November. The other 2 events, when I was sexually assaulted and physically assaulted, happened in August. So in November, that's when I had my job. I had also tried to get back with Mickey and make things work out in hopes. Most people would shame me for that too, but that's where I'll come into domestic violence culture in part 2 as to this topic. So, I ended up getting stalked and harassed also by the person that physically assaulted me, that spit on me. And the police didn't do anything to protect me. They kept on asking me, why are you bothering me, acting like I was bothering them. They were enabling the abuse to continue too. I did finally get certain cops that realized what was happening to me, and it's still under investigation, and I'm glad that they finally realized it, especially after the person who physically assaulted me actually harmed another person. They had committed battery on a woman at Walmart. They did get arrested, but it was for resisting arrest. But again, that woman most likely didn't follow through with going court and all that. Why not? It goes along with, why didn't you report it? Look what happened to me. When I reported it, the gangs used it against me. That's where I'd like to say is they have protection for witnesses of crimes. Why don't they have protection for the victim of crimes? That's right. Witness protection program. What about the, survivor protection program? That's right. My life did end up getting harmed more due to me reporting and them using the crimes that happened to me against me, and I got punished for it. How is that affecting me now? It is to the point where I don't even like being home. I'd rather be at work. I don't look forward to days off from work. Now that's really sad. Most people look forward to having a day off from work. I don't look forward to it anymore. I actually hate being home. I hate my days off because of what happened and the fact that, as I stated, these people all live in the same apartment complex. So how am I being punished? Not any different than when I was raped by a boyfriend when I was 16 years old. We both worked at the same job. My favorite job that I still remember was at Taco Bell when I was 16 years old. Sure, I got a restraining order on that ex-boyfriend that raped me, but I had to quit my job. That's right. I got punished. Why didn't he have to quit his job and leave it? No, I had to quit it. I had to leave the job that I loved so much and enjoyed so much, that made me who I am and happy. Now I'm being punished because I'm gonna have to move. Agencies had told me this right after I was sexually assaulted, that they want me to move out of here for my safety. I have to admit it, they were right. I was honestly hoping that after the sexual assault, things would just go down. It got much worse, as I had just described. I was physically assaulted less than a week after being sexually assaulted, and I was stalked and harassed for several months. And I was also given an eviction warning based on lies. So I now have to find a new home and leave what I seen as the first miracle that happened to me. The second miracle was actually that I had felt love for the first time, that I now have to sadly admit that it was most likely planned, that they used that person to harm me. And they actually did, that I seen, because they're now a part of that gang again, and I've seen them actually enable it and engage in abuse against me themselves after claiming to love me. That's right. So I was silenced. I'm not silenced anymore. And like I told the people where I was working at the location that were bullies and causing trouble for other coworkers, it's my legal right to share my story. There's nothing you can do about it. And like I told them, go pound sand for all I care. Because I am going to share my story for the people that many people have asked me to share my story and to teach about domestic violence. Because they found my personal story that I've been writing to be inspirational, and they actually learned something from it based upon their own experiences with abuse. That is it for part one, and now is to go over what I had been silenced from. And the topic for this was, I'm a survivor of the abuse that I am being punished for happening to me. Sadly. Very true. Why didn't I report? Why don't survivors report? That's right. Everything I just said is one main reason why. That's it for part one. I'm Shelley Rothus, I'm a different kind of victim. See you next time.